Hello everyone, it is Editing Brittany here and welcome to Vlogmas. This is an interesting episode because I had filmed this footage from Coronado Springs Resort at Disney World in Florida back in July during my trip. However, I never posted it. Why didn't I post this footage? I think it's because it wasn't a complete day. There were a lot of things that I just didn't record that day. And as you will see, I go into like a long explanation of all the things that I ended up doing that day that just didn't make it to camera. Enjoy this lost footage from Walt Disney World and a little bit of Houston beyond that. I mean, I'm glad I have this footage now because this is definitely gonna help me with Vlogmas. Anyway, enjoy. Okay, it's Thursday and sadly, it is time to check out of Coronado Springs. I'm so sad. Well, okay. This trip feels like it took like maybe 2 weeks, even though it's only been a couple of days. But like I'm ready to go home, but at the same time, I'm sad to leave. This has been a great trip. Anyway, I'm not leaving yet. Like my flight isn't until like 7:00 p.m. It's currently 10 a.m. So I need to find some stuff to do that's not gonna have me being outside and gross, because last thing I want to do is get on the plane smelling like butt. So I'm probably gonna just chill out in the Coronado Springs lobby for a while. I might go to Disney Springs one more time really fast. Yeah, that's basically gonna be it. Just returning the rental car, heading back to the airport. But this is the room. This was a great stay. Coronado Springs might not be the most Disney themed resort. It's very, very subtle. Like these or the three caballeros here. Very subtle theming, but this was nice. The room was definitely well appointed, very comfortable. Love the ceiling fan. But yeah, it is time to head out. Bye pool. This resort is huge, but it's got some beautiful touches. Pro tip that I learned from Monique, because she was attending a conference here, there's a covered walkway all the way to the convention center and to the main Destino Tower. So definitely follow the signs. This resort is beautiful. Wow. Okay, so that's where Three Rivers is. Wow. This is my first time actually seeing the water, this lake in the middle of the resort. So I got this bacon, egg, and cheese, I guess burrito wrap thing from Cafe Rick's. And it came with these 2 hash browns. These hash browns taste so good. Like they actually have seasoning inside. So I'm gonna try the burrito. Hopefully it's good, but it wasn't super expensive. I felt like something kind of simple instead of like any big crazy breakfast. So let me eat. Hi, Chip. Oh my gosh, hi. It's good to see you. Oh, I love you too. Hi. everyone, editing me is here again because, believe it or not, that concludes the footage that I had for this trip. So I mean, obviously my day didn't stop there. I had to check out of my room at Coronado Springs at 11 o'clock, and then my flight wasn't until 7:20. So I had a lot of time to just relax, squeeze some last minute things in. I really and truly did not go out and venture and explore as much as I would have liked, just because it was so hot outside. I know I've been saying this for the whole trip. I know you're sick of hearing me saying how hot it was, but it was hot. And I didn't feel like necessarily going to Disney Springs and walking around. Checking out of your hotel room, you don't have access to a shower like how you typically would. I didn't want to walk around and sweat and get stinky and then have to go and sit next to someone on a plane. Like, that didn't seem like the nicest thing to do. I mean, yeah, sure, I could have gone into like a restroom and freshened up, but that is not the same. If you think that's the same, you need to reevaluate your hygiene standards. I just kind of took it easy at Coronado Springs. After doing that kind of walking tour and showing you my breakfast, I hung out in, I think it's called the El Centro area. I think that's what it's called, but I'm not, don't quote me on that. I might insert the proper name for that area right here. But if you don't know about Coronado Springs, they revamped their whole resort. I think it was in like 2018, 2019. And that area where I hung out a lot, where I met Chip, that used to be the check-in area for that resort. That used to be like the grand entrance and the check-in area. But then once they had their refurbishment, they moved all that stuff over to the brand new Grand Destino Tower. So they left that area as a really cool kind of like convention hangout area. There was a lot of seating, there were plugs. You could just sit down with like desks and stuff. And at that point, I really wish I had my laptop because I totally could have worked on some coding stuff at that point. But I ended up just like sitting in a really comfortable chair, watching the latest episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty on Amazon. Let me know in the comments if y'all watched that show and if you want me to talk about it, because I'm kind of obsessed, but that's a whole different point. Anyway, just relaxed in that area for a while. It was really peaceful. It was cool seeing Chip and Dale come through that area. And, you know, I love how Disney provides that sort of entertainment for their guests. I hung out there for a while, and then maybe 1 o'clock, I started to get restless, and I said, okay, I'm gonna go and just drive around because I still had the rental car. I needed to get lunch, and I just felt like going down a nostalgic path since I visit Florida so often. So I got in my car and I drove down Highway 192. If you don't know this about me, my family bought a timeshare down 192 back in like the year 2000 or something like that. So we visit Central Florida, well, specifically Kissimmee, Florida, almost every single year, going to that timeshare. So I love to just go by and take a peek at it. I didn't really go in the resort or anything, but I just drove down 192, kind of looked around the area, got my nostalgic feels. At that point, I realized that I was homesick. I mean, okay, don't get me wrong, I loved this vacation. I loved that it was mostly a solo trip. Shout out to Monique for inviting me on this trip, because it was really cool to get a solo trip without actually being totally by myself. Because yeah, sure, I was by myself for the theme park portion of this trip, but it was really nice to go back to the hotel room and have Monique there. And even though she was kind of like in work mode, like it was still nice to have a friend that's like family close by, that I didn't feel completely isolated from everyone and everything. Monique had flown out super early that morning. I didn't have my flight until later. And I guess because I wasn't so busy like rushing around, going to the theme park, going to Disney Springs, going here, there, and everywhere, that was when it finally started to hit me that I really missed my parents. I missed my parents, I missed Oreo, and I also think that's when the flight anxiety started to really hit me again too, because I mentioned this on my travel day to Florida. I really and truly was worried about flying. There have been so many incidents recently with planes. I know y'all have heard these stories like on the news recently, like a lot of weird things have been happening in aviation. I know logically that flying is still the safest mode of transportation. Like there really and truly are not as many incidents compared to like car crashes and other modes of transportation, flying is definitely one of the safest ways to go. But you have to admit that in 2025, it has been an interesting year for aviation. I don't even want to just say in the United States. I want to say globally, because they had that big plane crash in India too. But that's besides the point. I was feeling homesick. I was getting anxious about the flight. I didn't have as many things to distract me with. Driving around, feeling nostalgic, enjoying Highway 192 and all the places that I grew up seeing over and over and over again. Then I ended up wandering over to Celebration, Florida. If you don't know, Celebration is where I went to go mail the packages that I had to mail from the Caribbean supermarket, and just like other things that I had that I needed to mail home a few days prior in this trip. I went back to Celebration because I remembered there was a really good Thai restaurant there. I think it's called Thai Thani, Thani. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but my mom and I went there back in, I think it was December or January, when we were in Central Florida last time. I enjoyed that Thai food. By that point, I was totally fed up with the theme park food, and I just really wanted some good Asian food. So I went over to Thai Thani. I had some tom yum soup. Bad idea because it was hot outside. I'm a weird person. I'm a Bajan. I would eat hot soup at mostly any time. I should have taken footage there, because really and truly I should have highlighted that restaurant. It's definitely a great place to go. There are not that many great Asian options on Walt Disney World property. I'm gonna give that controversial opinion. The Asian food at Disney World is lacking. It is totally lacking. So to have Thai Thani not too far away, it was a nice, approachable, relaxing place to just go and have some great food. I gassed up the car. I went to my favorite Wawa. If you don't know about Wawa, that's like they don't have it in Texas. I don't know where else Wawa is. I think it's an East Coast chain of gas stations, but I went there, filled up the car, the rental car, because I had to return it. Then I went back to Coronado Springs, grabbed my luggage, took one last look around, and then sadly, I had to go return the rental car and head to the airport. Now, I wish I had known my flight was delayed, because I probably would have chilled out at Coronado Springs for a little bit longer. I returned my Turo rental, which I guess I should talk about that, huh? I got to the airport, I got all checked in, I camped out for a while. There wasn't anything that I really wanted to eat, because I guess I was just so anxious that I didn't feel like eating. So I had to like scrounge around and find like this one empanada. Thankfully, the tom yum soup held me over for a while, but I just chilled out at the airport until I found out that my flight was delayed for technical issues. There was a technical issue with the plane, so you know that helped my anxiety, right? But yeah, thankfully they resolved it. So I think I only ended up being delayed for about 2 hours, where my flight was supposed to leave at 7:20. I think we left around like 9:30. So that wasn't so bad. I ended up getting back to Houston around like 11 something, and I made it back safely, and I'm here living to tell the tale. So thank goodness. Let's talk about my Turo rental. Turo was definitely a great option for me on this trip. If you guys are not familiar with Turo, Turo, it is kind of like the Airbnb app for cars. A user could upload their car onto Turo and like offer it for rent. You go on there, you let them know what time frame you need to rent the car from, and then you arrange with that person to go and pick up the car. This is what I didn't tell my parents, because I'm sure this probably would have freaked them out. I got dropped off into a neighborhood in Orlando. It was a really nice neighborhood. Like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like a sketchy, creepy kind of neighborhood. It was a suburb, a really nice looking suburb. You could tell that it was safe there. I didn't talk to anyone. This was completely contactless. My Turo host, I guess, had a lockbox outside of the car window, and they had sent me the code through the app. So when I pulled up to their house, I located the car parked on the street. I went to the lockbox. I opened up I put the code in, I got the key out, and was able to just like access the car that way. What was interesting was that I had to check in through the Turo app with the car, meaning that I had to go and take pictures in all of these specified locations. I mean, if you rent a car through Enterprise or Hertz or one of those kind of companies, like you're used to kind of going around and like taking video of the outside of the car and just like making sure that there aren't any scratches or anything and that you document them. It's basically the same thing, but Turo wants you to upload these photos to the app. It took a while because the self-service out there was a little bit weak, but I got that done and I was just able to drive off with the car seamlessly. And then the check-in part, I made sure to get there a little bit early so I could do the check-out process. All right, so for some reason, I never filmed the final part of my explanation of Turo, but I think from those clips, you could kind of tell what I was getting at. Basically, all I was saying is that I allotted myself a few extra minutes to make sure I took all of the requisite photos outside of the car for Turo's checkout process. It's not too complicated. I highly recommend Turo. I had a really good experience. That being said, it was my first and only experience with them. Keep that in mind, like maybe not all cars would be as nice as the car that I got. I did have a few complaints about that car anyhow, like just looking back on it now in November. That when I'm filming this on November 15th. As you can see, I'm wearing the same shirt. Y'all have seen this shirt before in this Vlogmas series already. The car that I did get from Turo, it had a really strong air freshener smell. And I think that was something that I wanted to point out during my wrap up of that series. But the car did have a very strong scent. I just rolled down the windows for a while as I was driving and that kind of helped dissipate it. But other than that, it was in really great condition. If you're on a budget for your trips, you don't really want to go through like a crazy like car rental service, try Turo out. It was pretty cool. Anyway, I'm gonna insert one more random clip or a series of clips from when I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Vlogmas. I will see you guys tomorrow, right? Right?